welcome everyone to it. Taste different gaming appetizers, and tonight we've got a bunch of Xbox news. Kind of conglomerating a bunch of this stuff into one little tidbit here, but lots of talk has been going around Xbox, especially after the Summer Game Fest and their own showcase, and some of the things they announced and some of the things that were observed, and then what's been going around, what a lot of people have been seeing on the Xbox dashboard. So let's kind of start with like Xbox, what Xbox consoles players are reportedly beginning to see. They're beginning to see their game library appear on their Xbox PC store, which is probably some good news. It kind of goes hand in hand with their announcement of, them partnering with Asus in the Republic of Gamers to release, two handheld consoles, the Xbox Ally and the Xbox Ally X. Two handheld consoles, two handheld Xboxes, if you will, to compete with the likes of, the Steam Deck, Switch 2, if you will, and even the PlayStation Portal, which you need a console to play with the PlayStation one, right? So you can't play cloud games or any of that stuff. So not so much as that, but if I was a betting man, I would say that Sony's probably not too far behind with announcing their own handheld portable console. And then also during the showcase, Outer Worlds 2 was showed off, and then quietly killed by telling everybody that's going to be an $80 title, $79.99. I think all those people who have Game Pass are probably cheering for that, right? It's going to be, I would assume that game's going to be on Game Pass, if it was me and I would not be spending $80 on it, but some people might. I don't think, I love the Outer Worlds games. I love the first one. It was a good one. The second one looked fun, but to me, it's not an $80 game. There probably is few and far in between $80 games for me. But lucky thing about it is it's going to be on Game Pass, and they're unlike Nintendo. They'll put their stuff on sale after a while, especially if it doesn't sell very well upon release. And they're blaming the publishers and everything, that they don't get to make the decision. The publishers do, and all this. So woe is me, but kind of bad news for gamers that we're starting to see $80 games. Nintendo pulled the trigger, and everybody else is saying, hold my beer. I'm bringing them out too. So tons of not so fun news in that aspect, right? I don't know how to feel about Xbox handheld. I mean, to each their own. I'd rather just play on my PC at that point, but it's supposed to be a console device, right? It's going to have the dashboard. It's supposed to be like a full Xbox experience in a handheld. Game bar, has your library, cloud gaming, all kinds of stuff. So, like I said, they're claiming it's part of Xbox Play Anywhere, but I mean, come on. Yeah, buy once, play anywhere. I mean, as long as it's compatible with that device, right? The device also supports the Xbox Remote Play, which I don't know how many people take advantage of. I mean, enough people have to, right? They play the PlayStation with their device that way. So a little bit about the handhelds. They're going to be rumored price is like $500 for the Ally, which is the white one, which is the lower end one, the 16 gig of RAM, 512 gigabyte storage. And then the Ally X is rumored to be $800. These are US dollars. I think I saw somewhere in prices overseas, it was going to be $100 more expensive. So instead of $500 and $800, it was going to be $600 and $900. So, and then the Ally X is 24 gig of RAM and 1 terabyte of storage. They, supposedly are going to have the AMD Ryzen's, the Z2 Extreme and the Z2A processor. The Extreme, obviously, in the higher end. It looks like a cool looking device. It better have a good power supply in it, is all I got to say. It says it's going to have a 60 watt hour in the cheaper one and an 80 watt hour battery in the more expensive Ally X. Has a 7-inch display for 120 hertz, FHD display with 180p. It has the Corning Gorilla Glass. for the protective screen. So lots of they posted a lot of the specs already, so you can actually see them on their site already. Like I said, it looks like both models have the same display. Really, the difference is storage, battery life, and the processor really seems to be the big one. And memory, obviously, you go from 16 gig in the cheap to 24 gig in the more expensive one. The Ally X has what appears to be more I/O ports. More I/O ports. It seems like the cheap one only has two USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type Cs with DisplayPort 1.4, power delivery 3.0, one micro SD card reader, supports SD and SDXC and SDHC, and then one 3.5 millimeter combo audio jack. And the I/O ports on the Ally X is one USB 4 Type C with DisplayPort 2.1, so better, the more recent DisplayPort version. Has a Thunderbolt 4 compatible connector as well. One USB 3.2 Gen 2 Type C. So whereas the Ally has two of those, the Ally X has one of those. But like I said, DisplayPort 2.1 seems to be, which is obviously going to be better. It's going to be interesting. I really want to see what the prices are and not the rumored price. So it looks like it's included with each model that comes with a charger stand, a 65 watt. So I'm not in the portable market as much as like Nick might be, so I mean that really doesn't affect me. The I try to stick it to Microsoft as much as I can because they kind of gotten on my, I'm not their biggest supporter anymore, so I make sure to continue to do trial offers for Game Pass for $6 and $7. So I get a $7 Game Pass Ultimate when I want to play games and just play that instead of keeping my subscription like I did when it was, when it was relatively inexpensive, like $10, $11. And now they decided to jump it up to 20. I'm like, nope, not for me. It's jumped up way too much in the last few years for me to keep subscribing every month. Nick, what do you think about, users starting to see their game library, Xbox users starting to see their game library on their PC store, the new handheld consoles, and then Xbox finally jumping in the pool with everybody else and saying, we have an $80 game now? And do you think that Outer Worlds 2 is worth $80?
Outer Worlds 2 is not worth $80. I'll put that out there. I enjoyed Outer Worlds, the first one. I never did beat it, but I enjoyed what I played of it. And, I like Obsidian. They usually make some really good stuff. I love their Pillars of Eternity games and stuff like that, and some of the other games they've created. I think the Outer World is a good game, but I don't find it to be an $80 game. And they did come out and say like, hey, we don't set the prices for these things. Obsidian did. So, beyond the backlash, like they're like, hey, that's not us. We don't set the prices on these stuff, which I'm sure it's not.
I think it's BS. They do get some say in the price, right?
They might. I don't know. I mean, Microsoft's their publisher, so who sets the prices for things? The publisher or the developer?
It's typically, but obviously, doesn't Microsoft own Obsidian now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you essentially Microsoft says what they have to do, but at the same time, they can be like, they can give the argument why it's not a $80 game, because it scratches that Fallout-ish itch for me anyway, but it's not Fallout, so it doesn't really, to me, warrant $80 game. I'm not paid too much attention to Outer Worlds 2. I liked Outer Worlds 1. I played it and I beat it, but not enough of Outer. Not seeing enough to actually say how good of a game it is, but $80 games to me on principle is not something I'm willing to do right now.
It looks like it's more of the same, really.
Yeah.
Which like I said, the Outer World 1 was a good game, and so no reason to don't fix if it's not broken type of thing, right? Just fix the issues that maybe the first one had and add more things to it. That's usually how sequels go, right? Not always do sequels end up being better, but sometimes they do. Like most of the time, sequels usually are better than the original, but not always. So we'll always have to see. But yeah, I don't. It was going to come down to $80 games were going to happen regardless, it was just coming down to who was going to start the trend, right? We thought Grand Theft Auto was going to start that trend, but Nintendo said, "Hold my beer, and we'll do it first." We'll start the trend going. Trendsetters, Nintendo is, and we'll start the trend, and everyone else will follow suit. So Microsoft is following suit. You'll see Sony follow suit. They're all going to follow suit with $80 games, right? That's just we don't know, unfortunately, the first $80 game from Sony, and I don't even know if you can pre-order Ghost of Yotai at the moment. Can you pre-order it yet? Oh yeah, you can pre-order it. So it's a $70 game. So definitely that one's not going to be the first $80 game. I was thinking maybe that one would be the first 80 if they didn't have it already set up for pre-order. But whatever comes out after that, more than likely will be whatever major title comes out after that will probably be their first $80 game. They're probably shooting themselves in the foot, wishing they had stuck that one out for $80. But
yeah,
they didn't want to be the first ones. Surprisingly enough, it didn't seem like Sony wanted to be the first ones to pull the trigger on that one. So,
right, Nintendo beat them to it.
Yeah.
I guess they backed off of that $90 physical thing, huh? Because I've not seen a $90 physical game from them yet, and Nintendo had that plastered all over their release thing with Mario Kart World.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's welcome to the age of just more expensive games. I've also read something that it's just a rumor right now, but there's rumors that Game Pass is going to go up in price as well.
They just went up in price, like that wasn't that long ago.
It was like last year, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah. I thought. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. There's just rumors, but there's rumors circulating that Game Pass is also
in July. It went from $17 to. I hate they do $16.99, so I'm saying 17 to 20. Right. It went up $3, and now they're going to increase it again. More reason for me to get the $6 and $7 trials every month that I want to play something.
Right.
Because at this point, if it goes up more, what are they going to do? $23? Or they're just going to jump right to $25?
Like $25, I would imagine.
At $25, Ultimate. It's definitely not worth it.
Right.
So they're just going to kill off their entire ecosystem. They're killing off their consoles, and then next they're going to kill off their entire gaming franchise.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to buy their shit. It's just too expensive.
Yeah, it's getting that point, right? It's getting to that point with everything. It's just getting way too expensive. So, the days of having multiple consoles is going to be, even that's going to be, harder to achieve, and all sorts of things of that nature. So we'll see what happens, but as far as that goes, just begin to see more $80 games. I mean, most games that come out, especially console wise, are going to be $80. Especially from major publishers and stuff like that, you're going to see a lot of $80 titles. As far as the Rogue Ally, neat, but I think this is just Asus's new ally. Because I was looking at their website the last model they have on Asus website is a 2023 model for the Rogue Ally. $500 for the regular one and $650 for the more upbeat version. And so this more than likely it's just an updated version of the Ally with a Xbox skin slapped onto it, really, is what I feel like. Because even the Rogue Ally, the original one, like if you go to the Asus's website, they talk about ordering one, and with it you get 3 months of Game Pass with the original one, the 2003 version. So you could already do Game Pass on there, or you could play that stuff already on there. So I think this is just Microsoft and Asus kind of more of like, hey, slap our Xbox stuff on there. We'll have a little bit more integration with Xbox, and Xbox button is on the new Ally and stuff like that. So it seems like this is just Asus's Rogue Ally, their new next version of that system, right? Because they come out with new variations of these handhelds. And this one just has the Xbox moniker slapped onto it. I'm assuming the Xbox or the Rogue X and the other Rogue that they're coming out with are just they're two different models, right? The cheaper model and the more expensive model that they've come out with before. And I don't think they're going to have like a Asus specific one, kind of like they have now, where they don't have the Xbox button on it. I think from now on, it's going to be the Rogue Ally. They're all going to be Xbox editions, right? They probably partnered up for that. You know, Microsoft probably paid them a pretty penny to say, hey, slap our crap on it. So,
yeah. I mean,
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly it's running a Microsoft optimized version of a Windows 11 for the new handheld, which the current ROG Ally runs on Windows 11 as well.
Yeah.
But the supposedly the one that's coming out with Xbox is Microsoft optimized. I don't know. It kind of reminds me of it kind of reminds me of when Microsoft built the embedded Windows OS for like kiosks and stuff. They're like, hey, check out our embedded OS, you know? So maybe they're doing something similar with Windows 11. Windows 11 gaming OS built for handheld or something.
Right. Which, I mean, whatever, you know, but I assume that I would guess that Asus is not going to come out with a normal Ally as well as this version. I think this is the new version of their Ally with Microsoft's, you know, kind of moniker along with it, right? And maybe some custom stuff that Microsoft's doing. Maybe they are doing some OS changes and stuff like that. Better integration features, right, with Game Pass and stuff. The Xbox button on there and easier to get to your Game Pass library and various things like that. But ultimately, it's an Ally, right? It's a Rogue Ally. And that's ultimately what it is, right? So it's not anything different than that. It's just got a new look. It's got the Xbox button. It's integrated with Xbox. That's essentially, which is smart from Microsoft, really. We talked about this before, but it was smart for Microsoft not to try to develop their own. And really, I think PlayStation should have went this route, but you know, we had talked about for a long time, and even online, people had talked about how it'd be smarter for Microsoft just to partner up with because there's already like 3 handhelds. We got the Steam Deck, you got the Legion, you got the Rogue. And so the market's like, if you introduced an Xbox handheld that did like everything those do, then the market becomes too saturated with too many products, right? And it's going to be harder for that product to compete. So it's easier for Microsoft just to ally with somebody that's already developed a product that works and that people like. I've never used the Rogue Ally myself, but people seem to like it. So might as well just partner up with them and be like, yeah, this is our handheld, right? And I think PlayStation should have done the same, like maybe partnered up with Legion or something.
Yeah, I mean, technically, the specifications for the Xbox ones are higher than the current ROG. So
yeah,
I would expect the prices to go up on all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it was $500 for the regular one, and then for the extreme version of the old one, it was $650. So you're probably looking at like
maybe they'll try to keep the
$600
for 500. I mean, and 800.
Maybe. I would say probably like 600 or 700 for the regular one, and then for the X version, you're looking at probably $800.
Right, because they're using the new instead of them using the Z1, they're using the Z2s.
The old one had 16 gigs of memory. These new ones have 24 gigs of memory, right? I think.
16 gig for the cheap one and 24 for the Ally X. The Ally is the cheaper, which is 16. And then the Ally X has got 24. And I think
the old ROGs
were 12 and 16 respectively.
12 and 16. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, we put 16 at the lowest end and then 24 at the higher end. And there's still 7-inch screens, I think. I think I said the other one was 7-inch FHD.
Yeah. And they also have higher, because they had 512 gigabytes of storage, whereas the X has 1 terabyte. And
that's the same. The Ally The old Ally, the white one that exists today, is 512 gigabytes, and then the Ally X is 1 terabyte.
Yeah. But the old ones, well, according to their website, the old ones had the same.
See, the Ally X from last year shows to have 1 terabyte PCIe 4.0 NVMe M2, and then the new ones that Microsoft's saying is going to have the M2 2280 SSDs, one at 512 and the other one at 1 terabyte.
The Ally
X. Yeah, they have an Ally X already.
That's the 2024 version. Okay.
Yeah, they have the Ally and the Ally X, and the Ally X is the newer one that they offer.
And that one's $800.
Yeah.
So if you think of and that's 12 gigabytes of memory.
Yep, the DDR5. And
so you're looking at the new one, which I mean, this would be the equivalent to the new X, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at twice more memory, and so that's $800. So you're looking at probably like $900, maybe even $1,000 for.
I don't know if it'll go that high. I think they'll probably try to keep it at around 7 or 8. I mean 8. Or
you think they'll maybe go to 9? 800?
I think so, to stay competitive with the Steam Deck and stuff like that.
They would have to, right? Because the Legion is like the cheaper one, right?
I think so. Yes, the Legion. The Legion seems to be the more popular one, I thought too.
But. Well, yeah, I think it's the more popular one, but I also think it's the more popular one because I don't know if it's more popular because it's cheaper or if it's just got a better feature set.
Right.
I mean, it's $700 for the Legion Go.
Yeah.
So it ain't much cheaper.
I mean, it's more expensive than the low end, but cheaper than the high end, which I haven't compared the specs. But like I said, handheld gaming is not my thing, really. Right. So, and so I mean, to each their own. If that's, I mean, instead of you buying a gaming PC, if that's what you buy, whatever. I think they can both be docked or put on the charging stand and then plug in your display port into your monitor and things like that. Because from what I could tell, it looks like the same screen. It's the 7-inch full HD 1080p 120 hertz refresh rate. The only thing I can't tell, if it doesn't really mention on the specs on these, do they have like the VRR, and things like that? Do they have the what's the screen, what's the nit value and all that stuff? But I've not dug too much into it says it has FreeSync and all that stuff on it. So it looks like the same exact display. Doesn't look like they did anything new to the display. So same display, and things like that. Newer processor, higher end memory, more memory. So I mean, all the other stuff is probably the same. I mean, so really, can they justify going to $900? I don't know. They put a Wi-Fi 6E on that one. Yeah. So I mean, who knows? We'll have to see. But to me, it's not something in my bag that I really care about. So, I mean, like I said, to each their own. But the video game $80 is not for me.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to assume that you have to have Xbox Ultimate to use the ROG because they're going to consider it a PC and not an Xbox. So you can't have the Game Pass console version because that's cheaper. Right. But also, I guess you don't get the day one games, right, with that version.
Yeah, without the Ultimate. Plus, you don't get the cloud gaming without the Ultimate, which I mean, they did say native install, so that's good.
Yeah,
but
I don't know, man. It just seems to me more of Microsoft just saying, "Yep, we don't want a console anymore."
Oh yeah.
So,
well, I mean, it
makes me sad.
It does. I mean, it's basically a lot of things are changing, right? I don't know if PlayStation. I mean, I'm sure PlayStation will go that route, but as far as like having another console, but for how long, right?
Yeah.
Because if they find that it's more cost effective to not have a console and put their games everywhere, like, a lot of gamers out there have blinders on, thinking that, Microsoft or Sony or Nintendo or whatever is loyal to the fan base or loyal to whatever. And it's like, they're not loyal to anybody, but they're shareholders, or they're loyal to the dollar, right? I mean, like that's pretty much it. So whatever Microsoft or Sony or even Nintendo or whoever, they'll do whatever they need to do in order to,
make money.
do it, make money. So if that means deserting their console, then they'll do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And Xbox doesn't have what Nintendo has, which is a nostalgic fan base, right? I mean, Nintendo's been doing their thing forever. Microsoft's nostalgia may come from their 360 era, which is not that long ago. And then with this new handheld, I'm just going to assume that means that the in-house built handheld is pretty much dead, that they're not doing that anymore. I mean, it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense for them to. I don't think anything's officially been announced that's been killed, but I think this is pretty much the nail. This says, it's dead. I know they pushed it back for like some Windows 11 optimizations and stuff for gaming. But we really haven't heard more, but I'm assuming this just says, that's a dead project now.
Yeah. Maybe it's just easier for them. Like I said, you don't want to saturate the market with your own device and stuff like that. When you can have a proven device already out there and you could just attach your name onto it, that's probably an easier route to go.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to try to compete with 3 other devices. Right.
Yeah.
Out in the handheld market. The handheld market, I suspect, does pretty well. Well enough for Lenovo and Steam and Asus, but how, if you're a new contender in that market, how well are you going to do against those 3 that are already established? And then you're going to have to try to put your footprint in there, along with everything else. And that's just a long route. That's just a long road.
So the question I would ask, and I don't think it's going to happen, but do you think they're going to build Hall effect joysticks into there? Probably not, but
probably not.
They should. They'll set them apart. Because,
they don't say in the specs, do they?
They don't.
Oh, they do say, the triggers are Hall effect.
So that means that the joysticks are not.
They say, it says full-size analog sticks. So it doesn't say they're Hall effect.
Which, I don't know. That's the biggest thing I've heard complaints about with the, and I don't have one, so don't. The handheld for Nintendo is not for me because I can't justify the price for one new game. But people are complaining about the no Hall effect joysticks on there, and then some people, I don't know what the percentage is. I've only seen a couple of stories where people are saying they got issues with stick drift and showing videos and stuff, but Nintendo is horrible about that with the Switch. So the Switch 2 sounds like it's just going to have the same amount of problems. So I don't know. That seems like a no-brainer these days. I don't know why it's not being done. I see $50 controllers out there with Hall effect joystick.
Oh yeah.
So it's not like it's adding any more money to that. Obviously it's going to take away from some of the profit they make on a controller. But when you're Nintendo and what was it, $80 for the new Pro controller?
Yeah, I believe so.
So $80 for a new Pro controller, and it probably doesn't have Hall effect, right?
I don't think so. I don't know. Probably not.
Probably not, but yeah. So yeah, they're not. It said they're not Hall effect. So I have not heard too much about stick drift on the Pro controller, so I'm just talking mostly about the Joy-Cons.
Yeah, I
got an original Pro controller for the Switch, and I've not had stick drift issue. Now my Joy-Cons are jacked.
Yeah, my Joy-Cons are jacked. My Pro controller for my original one for the Switch, it works just fine. I even have a Pro controller for the Wii U, and it works still fine.
Right.
So
it just sounds like don't play with the Joy-Cons.
Don't play with the Joy-Cons. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, but yeah. So the handheld market is just not my bag.
Yeah.
Might be for some other people. I don't know. Nick, is it something you're interested in? You think you're going to get you a ROG Ally or ROG Ally X?
No, I've played with them at Best Buy. they're kind of neat and stuff. I'd probably go with the Steam Deck if I was going to go with anything handheld, because you can dock those
Right.
as well. But I don't have any plans for it.
Right.
I'm not gone long enough for that, to utilize a handheld. Like if I traveled a lot, then I might have a use case for it. But unfortunately, I don't. So I don't really have a use case for it.
Right. Yep. I would agree. I don't travel enough, so
Yeah.
it's just what it is. And that's probably that. Like I said, the price point value for handhelds is just not there for me. When you're charging me, like a Switch, for example, is charging me $500 for which is the same as I paid for my Xbox Series X, my PlayStation 5. I'm not really keen to, pay that for the handheld console, especially with only a singular game. That to me is not a console. It's not a console seller for me. It might be for some people, and obviously Nintendo's got the nostalgia factor. So, for me, handheld's just not there. I'd rather take that $800 that I'd spend on an Ally X, or $900, or even $1,000 if it has to go that high, and put it into my PC because I don't travel. For $1,000, I can do quite a bit of upgrades to it. Hell, I could even probably start over with a new motherboard and processor. I could definitely get a newer, higher end motherboard and processor for that, and then slap on my older components and then slowly swap out, memory for newer memory and things like that. So, it is what it is, and we'll see if it sells, and we'll see if it's a strategy that works for Microsoft. Nick, obviously it worked for Nintendo, but Microsoft is not Nintendo. So I don't believe they have a fan base for that, but that's my opinion. All right. You got anything else, Nick, that you want to chat about? All right. Well,
nope. I'm good.
All right. Well, let us know what you think down in the comments. Are you interested in getting an Xbox version of the ROG Ally or ROG Ally X? Are you interested in that? What do you think about their new $80 game? Do you think that is a game worthy of the $80 tagline? And, what do you think about all the stuff you saw in the Xbox showcase from Summer Game Fest? Let us know what you think down in the comments. And you reached the end of this episode. If you're not subscribed, why not help us out? We appreciate any and all feedback, even if it's negative. We'll roll with the best of them. We throw out some stuff too. So, give us feedback. Like, subscribe. Let us know your feelings. You hate us, you like us, whatever. And we hope you enjoyed this episode, even if you hate us. And we hope to catch you in the next one.